This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Stevie Ray grabs his first podium finish of the season, while Donald Fitterer has his worst finish since round 3. Things have been shuffled around slightly behind the leader, but up top, Dimmel has notched up 4 straight wins. While the idea of him taking the championship after missing the first 3 rounds becomes more and more realistic, we must remember that one poor finish can still do in the DH Phenom. Phillip Island's draft-heavy racing in these cars might offer the best opportunity yet to beat him. We'll see if anyone snatches it up as we get ready to watch round 8 of the Weekend Warriors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, we've hopped across the Pacific Ocean down to hang out on the Australian shoreline. Tell us about Phillip Island.
Yeah, Phillip Island, of course, the layout that we all know, the 12-turn layout that has provided some fantastic racing on GSRC over the years. Of course, sitting in this, I guess I don't want to call it a state. I forget what they call them in Australia. District, maybe? I don't know, but we're in Victoria. And of course, the track length here, 2.762 miles. You know, Joe, one interesting thing I found out here while reading up on this track is that these cars here, the Spec Racer Fords, are actually faster than the V8 Super Utes that the V8 Supercars used to run as their weekend series. But hey, let me just prove it to you. Let's go around in the SRF car.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. This long front straightaway is going to create draft battles all day, so don't be surprised to see cars 2 and 3 wide. However, coming up to Doohan, the first corner, it's going to get very hairy when cars aren't single file. It's barely a lift through here, and the SRF has some serious off-throttle oversteer. After that, you have to quickly get set up for the southern loop. This is a very long corner that both has a rise in elevation and a very late apex, so it's extremely easy to get the power too early and understeer off into the weeds. If you got it right, you'll be in a good position to set up a pass into the hairpin. But before you reach that, you'll need to gently steer it into Stoner. Unfortunately, this kink can make it hard to tell if a driver plans to defend down into Honda, so be wary of your opponent's intentions. On the exit, you can use all of this AstroTurf on the outside, so don't be afraid to let the car drift pretty far out. From there, it's a short run to Siberia, which has some very unique characteristics. It's an uphill climb with lots of banking, but it's such a long corner that you want to square off the apex very late. This is going to be super important now that you're on the backside of the circuit, because it's a long ways until you lift off the power. The car is going to weave gently left and then to the right through 7 and 8, but keep holding right to set yourself up for Lukey Heights. The track is going to climb and climb, but get tighter and tighter, so some lifting will be necessary. That's because you definitely want the car to hug the left curb as you plunge back downhill into the braking for turn 10. This is a sharp hairpin with a good bit of camber, but once again, it's an incredibly important exit. You won't be lifting again until you reach Doohan. Hold left around 11, then track out to give the widest entry you can into 12. This is the final corner, and once again, the banking allows you to carry lots and lots of speed. And you're going to need it now that we've hit the long pit straight. As long as you've kept it on the black stuff and pointed forward, you've now finished a lap around Phillip Island.
You see what is apparently a very quick lap around here at Phillip Island. We were both kind of shocked about the stat about the Utes, but you shouldn't be shocked that the Weekend Warriors are brought to you once again by the Hallett Race Shop. Hallett Race Shop is located at the Hallett Racetrack near Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're a full-service SRF shop and authorized customer service rep for SCCA Enterprises, and they own the Hallett Racetrack. You can find more information at hallettracing.net if you'd like to take a real spec racer forward out on a real racetrack. Now, this championship has certainly been turned on its head. Unfortunately, it isn't as close as maybe we would have liked for the top spot. McAreevy bumps up 3 positions because he was missing that podium for a while. Finally jumps back on there. Still, he's 66 points behind Sven Dimmel thanks to those drop weeks. But you can see the 0 next to Sven's name. He's really skating on thin ice. Sadro, Elson, and Donald Fitter are all bumped down 2 positions because of that. Fitter, of course, racing for the Spec 2 championship, which we will talk about now. Adam?
Yeah, I'm looking at those Spec 2 standings, and, well, no surprise, Donald Fitter still at the top, but very competitive still for 2nd through 4th in that. And look at Ryan Sorrell. Where did he come from on this board? Well, from 7 spots back. That's where. Same with Regalado coming in 3 spots up and sitting in 3rd. So this has just been completely shaken up after last week. Jim McGill down 2 spots now. And, of course, Adam Bradshaw up 3 spots.
Now, if you've never watched one of these races before, here's what you're in for. Of course, as I mentioned, we are in round 8 out of a 12-week season. They only get 3 drop weeks, which, as I explained, has already been taken up by our points leader. The cars are open setup, which can explain some of the fuel that, or the speeds that we were talking about in terms that they are finding here in these cars today. The fuel itself actually has been limited compared to what the real cars can do. So you should expect 1 pit stop because of that. Even though it says that they ration the points from first to last from 100 to 25, the podium always stays the same. So don't expect that to change according to how many cars show up. They do, however, apportion it down to 25 points for last every race. They have a spare car just in case, and that has come in handy and allowed a couple drivers to sneak wins in despite tremendous crashes in the races so far this season. As we ride on board with Stevie Ray, you can watch Stevie Ray and all the others race here on the iRacing Esports Network week after week. Make sure, if you want to catch it every week, that it shows up in your YouTube feed by subscribing. All you got to do is go to iRacing's IESN YouTube page and click the big red button that says subscribe. All the drivers certainly not afraid to be close together here in the qualifying, as we're seeing from Stevie Ray. And well, for you and I, Adam, that is obvious why they're trying to be close to each other. But I mean, explain why they're trying to hang out near each other in qualifying. It seems kind of counterintuitive for others, maybe.
Yeah, you know, and you don't really see that in some other divisions and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, guys, actually, it seems like they're racing pretty hard out there in qualifying, but really it's because this is going to be a very, very draft-centric track here today. I mean, we're going to see these guys running nose to tail. This will be pack racing, at least is what you get on a road course. I mean, we'll see some separation, but I mean, we'll not be surprised to see 5, 6, maybe even 7 car packs out there drafting off one another, maybe trading a few spots, and on a track that is kind of twisty. We got some long straightaways, you know, sweeping corners, but at the same time, it's also a track that doesn't have real crazy passing opportunities. So we're going to be seeing those passing opportunities being really taken advantage of in the draft.
Certainly will be the case. This is our pole sitter, Sven Demmel, has shown up, and, well, it's by 0.8 of a second right now over Daniel Sadro. Sven had a really good toe on his second lap on 2 different places from 2 different drivers. Everything, the stars aligned, essentially, and everybody is scrambling to try and do something to catch him up. Now, our pole sitter on the Spec 2 race is Donald Fitterer, but he's only got 2 1,000ths over Edward Doherty. So the battle for the pole in the Spec 2 race certainly still up in the air with a whole 6 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, and that sounds like a lot, but as far as some of the time gaps between some of these guys, but at the same time, it's really not. I mean, all it's going to take is one good run down the front straightaway, and that'll make up a lot of time.
Absolutely. As we watch the New Yorker. And we had another driver jump up. I think Jason put himself into 3rd on the timing sheets. No, it wasn't him. Who just set a fast lap up there? Because someone demoted our pole sitter and second place driver in Spec 2. You know, I think it was Evan Merrill, actually, who's come back recently. The HJ Motorsports driver returns once again in the number 25, and he's on row 3. Relatively big field here today with 29 cars. Hopefully traffic shouldn't be too much of an issue, as it is something of a long lap. Ride on board, watching him climb up through Siberia onto the back half of the course. Through the S's, which includes Hayshed, blending right back into Lukey Heights, a car known for despising lifting off the throttle in corners due to its lift throttle oversteer. Could have some trouble here today, but no such trouble for Evan Merrill, plunging down into MG nice and tidy. His fastest, which has now bumped him down to 7th. I believe Donald Fitterer got himself a faster lap to put him down 1. Let's see if Merrill Adam can improve on this 47.4. Across the line. What is this going to be for the number 25 car? A 47.1. That's 0.3 faster. That is good enough for row 2 now, up to 4th for Evan Merrill. And as all this... Oh, go ahead.
He's doing that largely without help right now, which is, kind of counterintuitive compared to what we've seen everybody else doing. Now, here's a guy that we've seen have some good runs here as of late, but waiting to see if he's able to put down a better qualifying time. Does look like he's able to shave about another 0.3 off that time. That was Dominic Barreau right there. That moves him from 15th up to 11th.
William Marshall demonstrating one of the trickier aspects of this circuit as we watch Jason Perry, who's currently in 2nd, come around. Jason actually has put Sadro down 1, but he doesn't improve this time by with that 46.9. But that pit entry, Adam, I can't count how many times. It seems like at least once every race we get someone who doesn't quite practice it enough.
Yeah, it's you can always tell, and especially you saw it last week at Laguna Seca, that pit entry was really tough. Pit entry is going to be tough here again for today, and you'll find out real quick who took some practice runs down that way and who didn't. Now, thankfully, here's a little bit more runoff than what there is at Laguna Seca, but at the same time, it could still ruin somebody's day.
The driver from Ohio, Gary Woolbolt, comes across the line but does not improve. In fact, I think it was an out lap there on that one. So starts another timed lap. Here comes Daniel Sadro to try and see if he can get back on Jason Perry. He's got 0.3 to go. Perry's come the closest to our pole sitter. It is still nearly half a second behind. Sadro's fastest at a 47 flat. He comes across, and he does not improve at a 47.4. So Jim McGill coming around, gathering speed up, letting everybody know to eat local honey on his car. Let's see what this one's going to be. Nothing for him. That is a non-scored lap. He must have had an off somewhere.
Yeah, maybe an outlap or something like that too. But either way, and not going to improve his time with that. So we'll go around again. We'll see what he's able to do here on the next time by. Here comes Richard Yallen, and that looks like maybe an outlap as well. I mean, he's coming across about 10 seconds slower than before. Trying to find somebody here on a flyer.
And we're starting to run out of time for that, actually. This is Adam Bradshaw, who's currently third in the Spec 2 qualifying. Comes around the penultimate corner up towards Swan. And let's see, is this a good one? No, it looks like he's also on an outlap. So this is going to be his last chance to try and improve. He is up to 9th. That's a very good qualifying overall for Bradshaw. Back to Sadro, the number 51. One of our drivers that's doing pretty well in the championship is going to end his qualifying prematurely. Doesn't feel good about that lap and is taking it in to practice that pit entry.
You know, and I was just thinking that he had a pretty good lap going, but he obviously felt otherwise from the cockpit. So he'll come down and call it a session. We got Regalado here, getting ready to come across the line. Is he going to be able to improve his spot at all? And does not look like it. Yeah, in fact, he was about 4/10 slower than last lap and about 6/10 slower than what his best time is.
16 seconds left. Time is running out if you want to do anything. And I think Donald Fitterer is going to be the first one to see the checkered flag. Oh, but he's going to abandon his as well. He's down in 5th. So he can't improve his qualifying. Behind him, Richard Yalland also coming across. The number 96 sees the checkered flag. His fastest is a 47.4. As he hits the timing line, it is going to be a 47.6. No good. Matt Solblum, the next one across, but also doesn't improve. He's way down the order is Matt Solblum. Jeff Jacobson in 22nd, going to be the next one to finish up. He's got a 48.3 under his belt. He sits in 22nd position as the number 240 comes across. It is going to be a 48.5. He does not improve. Bradshaw going to be next. And Bradshaw's last lap also struggling. Nobody seems to be able to do better in this final run. So I believe is Dominic Bureau our last one to cross. He's coming up through MG, down through MG, really. See, Bob Kern is behind him and Nico Shuk. I think they should be able to complete their laps. Bureau sitting down in 12th. Surprisingly low for Dominique. So a 147.8 becomes no faster. A 147.8, 780 is 2/100ths too slow on that lap. That can be frustrating. Bob Kern, the next. Oh, no, he's not because he's headed into the pits. Nico Shuk, actually. Looks like he's going to be the final driver to complete a lap. 48.1 has put him in 18th position. And that's a slow lap, unfortunately, for him. So that's going to settle our grid here today for round 8 of the Weekend Warriors. Phillip Island will see them take off as thusly. Sven Demmel with another pole position with Jason Perry trying to chase him, but half a second back really doesn't bode well. He'll start from second place. Row 2 has Sadro to the inside. Evan Merrill starting 4th beside him. Donald Fitterer, the pole sitter for the Spec 2 race today, will be P5, and then Stevie Ray starts in at 6th after his great podium last week. Richard Yalland comes back once more. He'll start 7th, and Edward Doherty 2nd in the Spec 2, managed to get himself up to P8. Zachary LeVay, he was late to enter the session, but still fast because he gets a 9th place, and then Adam Bradshaw rounds out your top 10.
Yeah, looking at 11th position, Fred Desai is going to find himself sitting there. Alongside him, Dominique Barreau. Jim McGill and Ryan Sorrell are going to make up row 7. And Ryan wants to let everybody know that apparently if you look at yourself in VR, you look headless. Interesting fact there. Ramon Recalado in 15th, Michael Shaw in 16th, Tom Gradwell 17th, and Nico Schuck in 18th position here today. They make up row 9 and row 10. John O'Donnell and then Friends Arabian. And then he'll find himself in 20th.
Lane Palmer starts 21st with Jeff Jacobson next to him in 22nd. Then it's Rick Hansen in 23rd. Bob Kern starts P24, followed by Gary Wobolt, Francois Van Dornveld, 26th, Mark Ehan, 27th, and Matt Solblum starts 28th. Last person to put a time in was William Marshall in 29th. Jerry McAreevy is going to start from the back, and Esanumi will follow him. All 31 drivers look like they will take to the grid here today. Good to see that. And it's going to be a rolling start behind the Porsche pace car. There you see the grid of SRFs all lined up and ready to go, just waiting on Kern and Regalado before they can get that Porsche rolling.
And we will get a full pace lap here at Phillips Island, so get another nice little tour before we go to Green Flag Racing.
Definitely one of the more picturesque tracks in the world that I've seen, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it, just because it's a lot of flat around here. Well, not necessarily flat, but just a lot of grass that you can see. But there you look off in the distance. I always loved how you could see the ocean just right literally next to the track. And somewhere out there is a yacht with a couple interesting characters on it.
And I think if you know iRacing lore, you can kind of figure out who those characters are. But I find it funny. Here we are, you know, we're the early part of the summer months here in the Northern Hemisphere. Of course, we're in the, I guess, early part of the winter months in the Southern Hemisphere in Phillip Island. But 2 weeks in a row, we're next to 2 racetracks that are real close to the ocean. I'm not saying, but I'm saying somebody had vacations in mind when they made the schedule.
Certainly seem to. They're coming now around the southern loop up towards one of the more popular places to pass, which is just past Stoner. It's going to be the left-hand kink and the right-hand hairpin of Honda. Adam, you talked about not many places, not many slow corners to try and pass. This one, I expect to see a few drivers not just send one in, but man, we've seen problems here before when passes are attempted.
Yeah, because of that kink, you don't end up with as good of a run as sometimes you think you have, and that can kind of get you into trouble. Now, that's not just an iRacing thing. That is a real-life racing thing. We've seen numerous instances there in supercars and some of the other series that run here at Phillip Island. It gets to be kind of misleading, but we will see passes attempted there, and you know, it just kind of goes back to having awareness of what's around you. But sometimes some people have better days than others. We'll have to see what we've got here today.
Now up through Hayshed into Lukey Heights. And Adam, I don't know if you're cognizant enough or smart enough to understand exactly why it happens, but we always talk about that lift throttle oversteer. What exactly causes that, especially in corners here like Lukey Heights?
You know, I've always kind of wondered that myself. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't perfectly, I don't exactly know, but I do think it has something to do with the elevation change and the balance of the car. And it just kind of gets light, gets upset with that quick elevation change. That's my guess. There's people out there who know a little bit better than me, but that's what I think.
All right, we'll see if anybody loses it through the race that's about to happen. 40 minutes here at Phillip Island because the Porsche pace car is in. Sven Demmel has control of the field. Jason Perry watching intently, trying not to get caught out too much. As they wait for that green flag to wave. It is a long wait. Green flag is out. Sven Demmel doesn't get the greatest of jumps, to be honest. Maybe he didn't want one, but behind them, Evan Merrill is definitely getting a jump. He's making it 3 wide for second place as they come up to Doohan. This is a very fast right-hander. They're going to have to get things sorted out pretty soon. Most of the cars streaming to 1 wide or 2 wide, but still a few stalwarts trying to make it 3 wide through there as now they come to the southern loop.
Yeah, it looks like everybody gets through Doohan here fine, and now trying to get through Southern Loop fine. And I think we do just have about a clean start. But here's the first time as we go through Stoner and then eventually Honda, where we've got to watch out. First, maybe passing opportunity, and it looks like Jason Perry's going to be the first one to at least take a look. He's going to be able to get to the inside of Sven. Is he going to be able to complete the pass? Go through that little dog leg. That's turn 5. We head to Siberia here in just a second. That puts him on the outside of the corner. He's not able to do anything with Sven just yet. He'll fall back in line.
And we had someone.
But Sven runs a little bit wide, and Jason's going to try to come back.
And Spider-Man is trying to climb his way up the order very quickly, certainly not being patient about it. We saw a few cars off track back there. I can report that McAreevy was involved, Ferenz Arabian, and then a few others. We'll come back to that in a bit. Finally, through Lukey Heights, Sven Demmel is able to fend him off, but he's going to have a friend soon because Evan Merrill, his teammate at HJ Motorsports, has already jumped to third. Around to complete this first lap down through Swan, and now for the first time they hit one of the biggest draft points of the track, Adam.
Yeah, this is going to be one place where you are going to be able to have the best runs, but you're also heading into a real sweeping corner. So you got to try to maximize your run on the straightaway. That looks like what Jason Perry is trying to do, and he will at least briefly take the lead. But look at that run that Evan Merrill is getting. I'm going to guess that him and Sven are teammates. They both got yellow and blue Hugh-ass cars out there, but they're not able to do anything with Jason Perry as they head through the Southern Loop and onto Stoner.
Yeah, they are definitely teammates, and Merrill followed Perry through, so there's no team orders, that's for sure. He's going to try and actually take the lead here as Perry's on the outside through Stoner, but he's going to have the inside. He's already well past him. Evan Merrill deep on the brakes, cars scattering behind them as they try to avoid each other. There is a lot of action happening up front. And in fact, we really don't have a break in the field until you get down to 13th place at Jim McGill. That's how long this train goes.
Yeah, we knew that was going to be the case, and hearing about something going on out there. Yep. A couple of cars again on the side. O'Donnell's one of them.
Yeah, John P. O'Donnell, and looks to be Wayne Palmer also involved in that. Two separate incidents, though. I think they hit each other, but only after they spun.
Yeah, and of course that goes. That's the second incident we've seen there. That was about the same place that we saw McAreevy get into some trouble earlier on, and McAreevy was a victim of bad luck there on that first lap incident, and that was one of those things that he kind of got here late, so he wasn't able to put down a qualifying time. Looking at Zachary LeVay having a run off the track, not exactly where he wanted to be.
Yeah, down into MG, he unfortunately looped it all by himself, and that's in way down to 16th. That was a big loss. Back up to the front, it is still Sven Demmel ahead of his teammate, but for how long? Because Merrill's got the inside into Doohan. This is going to switch back to the left-hander of the Southern Loop. They go single file. They're being followed by Stevie Ray, who's managed to get up to 4th, and then Edward Doherty, who is currently leading the Spec 2 race. Although Doherty is under threat, it's Daniel Sadro you can see trying to challenge him as the lead might swap around once again. Demmel working the high side, but he can't quite hold on. There's just not enough grip. He does get a good launch, though. Look at this. He's going to come back into Siberia. I don't think anybody is really that concerned about streaking away from the pack right now. They just want to be up front and out of the mess. Oh, speaking of mess, Bob Kern and Jeff Jacobson involved in one at Honda. We'll look at that replay in just a second. Oof, taking some curb there. That was brave from the 22. Down an MG, almost coming together with contact. Adam, this is starting to look a little bit risky. I'm kind of wondering if this is gonna go south in a hurry.
You got to be careful. And the one benefit that you have here is there's a lot of runoff if something happens. At least in many cases, have somewhere to go. But the You know how you're running, or guys that like to watch oval racing, watch a restrictor plate race, and you get that feeling. Oh, I'm getting that feeling, Joe. I mean, 4 wide going.
Sadro feels like
here.
the lead. Yeah, Daniel Sadro shooting the middle and taking up, I think, 4 spots in 1 straightaway, if I'm counting that right. And as he does that, Merrill and Demmel are continuing their battle side by side.
And Jason Perry, who's the big loser in that, I mean, he'll fall all the way back to 4th position, and then Stevie Ray didn't win out too well either. He actually had to get off the throttle, I think, a little bit there to miss him. But this front pack is dicey. Here we go again. Oh, and Evan was thinking about 3 wide there. Almost contact. They're able to get away.
Yeah, Sven Demmel got chopped off a little bit at the apex by Daniel Sadro, but it was all clean. Still the 2 HJ Motorsports drivers side by side and over under by Sven Demmel. The launch doesn't quite work, so he slots in behind his blue and yellow teammate. If I'm the cars behind these guys, though, I am definitely just sitting back, lifting off the throttle, saving some fuel. We do have a pit stop coming. The way they're driving, you wouldn't believe it, though.
I think right now you need to do everything you can not to have to try to come in along with everybody else. I mean, that's going to be a narrow pit entry, and that could get dicey in a hurry. I mean, that's one thing with Laguna Seca that we had last weekend, that at the very least, you weren't seeing people coming in packs, where here you might. So that adds an extra element of danger, even with the extra runoff in the pit entry here.
Merrill gets the run on Sadro. His teammate gets the run on both of them as Demmel splits the middle, goes up to the front. Jason Perry holding on, but look behind them. Edward Doherty's starting to drop off. He's still the Spec 2 leader, but he's losing the front train.
Yeah, he is, and it's kind of one of those ones we probably need to cooperate a little bit more and try to be able to catch back up, but I mean, Stevie Ray's car here in the last few minutes doesn't seem like it's handling the greatest, so he's having a tough time staying back behind Edward Doherty. And then on top of that, because of that, we're starting to see that second pack there with Federer and Yalland start to fall behind as well.
Oh, Spider-Man got awful close to the back of Evan Merrill. And did Sven Demmel lose connection? He's disappeared on my screen.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm not seeing him.
And Bradshaw's had a problem at Honda. Looking to see if he had help. Nope, it was just a self-spin. And the 205 unfortunately loses not just places overall, but falls down the Spec 2 order.
Yeah, Demmel has not returned to the track, so some sort of connection issue there. And I'm seeing his connection stats do not look promising. I think we're going to see him drop out here. Unfortunate.
Well, this might be very fortunate for Merrill because he's starting to pull away from Perry. I think Jason's still close enough within the draft that he'll be able to regain on him on the front stretch here, as long as he doesn't do anything foolish with Sadro. We're watching the 51.
And I'll be honest, I think, too, he was also starting to give a little bit of room because he wasn't sure if Sven was just going to pop back up somewhere. So that could have been it, too, until he was able to see that actual disconnect message, which did finally come across for Sven Demmel. So Sven Demmel officially on the sidelines here. We'll have to see if he's able to get reconnected. But that changes your top 3, which is now Evan Merrill, Sadro, and Jason Perry.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Demolition Man's router probably getting destroyed right now. As I would not be happy if I was him with the way that this will hurt his championship hopes. So, things finally starting to settle down. The top 3 not swapping back and forth every single corner for once. And all that is done is allowed Edward Doherty to start to pick up the draft of the car in third of Jason Perry. And I think he's back in touch now. Ooh, Esanumi off in the southern loop. Another driver finding out about that lift throttle oversteer. Oh, no, actually, maybe it was just understeer here. Let's ride on board the Finn. Little lockup from the car ahead, and yep. Early day to the beach.
And not exactly the beach you wanted to go to, but at least here we don't need a tow truck to pull you out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting when iRacing implements getting stuck in there. All right, I think the pit window might be opening soon.
Which means
Don't
Stevie
believe-
Ray. We'll know it's open when Stevie Ray
That's
decides
true,
he wants to come down.
Yeah, that's really when I should be calling it. As soon as Stevie Ray comes in, that's when that window has officially opened. He's just right back there in 7th. He might be one of the ones that has decided to get out of the mess of the swapping back and forth up front, but I think it's bit him because the top group has now settled into 4, and then you've got a big gap back to Donald Fitter, who's running 2nd in Spec 2, but 5th overall.
Yeah, but now that top group getting racy once again. Sadro able to complete the pass on Evan Merrill going into turn 1, but Evan Merrill right back there. Jason Perry feeling a little bit hungrier here again. Is he going to try to shoot the middle? Oh, this could get dicey.
He's staying in there. He's
Edward
committed
Doherty
at this
just
point.
sitting right there in what Soup likes to call the popcorn position, because when things pop, he'll be able to take advantage, but it kind of settles down there. Not quite, though. Still side by side for the lead. Sadro still has it. Evan Merrill still in 2nd.
They all get through it fine. Interestingly, I have seen that Michael Shaw has come in as he sniped one of our other drivers, Stevie Ray, to the first stop of the race this time. It looks scheduled as the battle continues to be contested for the lead. Jason Perry on the, or excuse me, Evan Merrill on the inside of Daniel Sadro. And then Sadro has the inside down into MG. Whoa, is a big bobble from Evan Merrill. What could have been a good launch off the corner loses him some time, doesn't lose him the spot quite yet. Looks like they're going to swap around again. Sadro's going to take the chance to be up front, or maybe it's going to be Perry.
Donald Fitterer has now joined this pack.
Doherty's going to follow Perry through, looking to get all the way up to 2nd place, and he's got it. And Stevie Ray still has not pit. Maybe he's for once actually going long. I mean, he's up with the top group. He doesn't have reason to leave with how draft heavy this track is.
For Sven Demmel fans, he has rejoined the server. He is back out on track, but he is a lap down. So now it's just a matter of just picking up cars by attrition.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that Sven was in the pit window. Although I guess it only matters if he was in the pit window when he came back. If that's the case, from what I've learned so far this season, Adam, never count out Sven Demmel.
Yeah, especially when we got our front pack racing like this.
Yeah, another try on Doherty from Evan Merrill. This time he works his way back into 2nd place. They're following Jason Perry, who pulls a few car lengths ahead, but that will be regained on the front stretch, we expect.
Yeah, we saw Evan Merrill get about that gap earlier, and it was gone within about a quarter of a lap once they hit that front straightaway. So that's going to be the same thing that's going to happen again. And here they come. Watch how fast that's going to disappear. I bet they fan out again here by the time everything's said and done.
Meanwhile,
hey, and I think that's Stevie Ray coming down.
It is indeed. So Stevie Ray from 7th place hits the cones to mark the pit limiter, the pit speed limit. Meanwhile, looks like Merrill going to try and overtake Perry. Perry's going to give it up, let him back through. Don't forget, behind this group is still a 2nd train, much smaller. It's Jim McGill, Fred Desai, and Ramon Regalado. They've been having similar racing, a lot of swapping back and forth. Regalado's poking his nose around, seeing if he could do anything on Desai and McGill. Meanwhile, this battle up at the front, the number 25, not willing to give up. Neither is Spider-Man. But Spider-Man settles into 2nd place. Oh, and Jim McGill's had a problem. Jim McGill is off in the gravel. He had help. Fred Desai braking a little too late into Honda corner. And a 342 suddenly is facing the wrong way.
And you can just see the tire tracks. He wasn't the first one to end up in that sand trap here today. Doesn't take much.
Honey car was in a sticky situation and got stung. So back to the track he goes.
Did you work on that all this last week?
Thought of it just now, to be honest. But we're back up at the top group. We're with Ryan Sorrell here in 11th. Coming through MG. He's traveling behind Zach LeVay. Remember, Zach, one of those drivers who had a spin in the very early laps, fell backwards, and he's only managed to get back up to 10th. It's going to be a hard ask for him to get up to the front group just because of the drafting going on up there and him leading the way with these slower cars.
By the way, your speed difference in the draft, when you're in the draft versus a car not in the draft, it looks to be about 6 or 7 miles per hour. Now, when you're going 118, 120 miles an hour, that 6 or 7 miles an hour difference, that's huge. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these big runs. So air playing a major role. Another thing, too, Joe, that I noticed is it does look like Evan Merrill does have a little damage on his nose. But that shouldn't affect him too much. He got that from bump drafting Jason Perry a little while ago.
There's no incident limit in this series, as you saw on the opening graphic. They do get penalty points for too many incidents, but Evan Merrill isn't fighting for a championship. He's just here for the win. You talk about pack racing. Man, when they were coming up to Honda, it was too wide, too deep. They got it all sorted out. They've had enough practice trying to do that sort of stuff into that hairpin. A little bit more single file to this one, MG corner.
Edward Doherty was all over the place there going through MG. He hit that, he started to slide and had to keep catching it and catching it. It was very subtle, but man, he was having to work that wheel.
Yeah, Edward Doherty giving in OMG, but he keeps it together. The 294 still in a podium position. Right on board with Spider-Man and squeezing through the small gap. Evan Merrill is going to take that away from the 97. Looks like Doherty going to lose out to third potentially to Daniel Sadro. But Doherty's going to have the inside on their way into the southern loop. Oh, way too wide there for Evan Merrill, and Jason Perry sees it. He immediately pounces and tries to come back through. Merrill is lucky he didn't swing wide like we saw earlier with Esanumi.
Joe, another Sven Demmel update. He has officially disconnected from the session. He is done for the day. I think it's safe to count him out this time.
Yeah, I'd say we can once and for all. So that will be a 25 points, I believe, for him. No, he's not last. Mark Gehan is last, so he gets slightly more than 25 points today. We ride on board with Doherty from the third spot. The popcorn position, watching the top two, continuing to duke it out. Almost makes me wonder, because we've got Sadro and Fitterer, who are teammates, I believe. I wouldn't be shocked if the two of them may be communicating a bit and deciding to pit now, get away from them, work together, do the two-car slingshot, maybe try to get something on them. I don't know. Just spitballing here.
That would be a legitimate strategy, I think, at this point. I mean, I'm going to be looking for a lot of these guys to maybe try to stretch it as far as they can and come down together. But here we go, 3 wide once again.
Doherty up the middle. Spec 2 is now in the overall lead. That second place continues to be sorted out.
Evan Merrill.
Contact. That is a very fast portion. I have a feeling we would have seen two cars immediately off into the grass if they had come together like that.
One thing I'm really noticing out of these Spec Racer Fords, though, is something that we used to see quite a bit for our people that watch a lot of GSRC broadcasts in the Absolute Beginners League, back when they were running the Skip Barber machines. You remember me and Soup, we used to always call it where they would go 3 wide. It was the car in the middle that had the advantage going down the long straightaways. We're seeing it a lot here with the Spec Racer Ford. So something in the aero is causing that. But right now, I mean, if you're getting a run down the straightaway and you're sitting in third, that's almost the place to be, and you shoot for the middle.
So we saw Evan Merrill kick up a little bit of dirt out of Siberia, but no harm, no foul. Didn't even lose his speed as they come up Hayshed. Doherty's not afraid to try and challenge for the overall lead as he took a poke up towards Lukey Heights, but then thought better of it. Little lock up from our leader, Spider-Man. Plunging down into the right-hand hairpin of MG. We're now halfway through this race. Any takers for the pits? Not this time. Highest bidder still Stevie Ray currently, and he's a whole half lap behind these drivers. Let's see, there's that middle spot. Let's see if it works well. I'd say Merrill's got it.
Yeah, it just seems like you get like an extra slight boost from some of the wake from the cars alongside you, and it just really helps to get you up there.
So middle spot is the mushroom, got it. As they work their way through the southern loop, and Jason Perry now under threat. He might lose third place because Daniel Sadro's starting to make some moves. See, Adam Bradshaw has come in for a stop. The leaders break for Honda once more, and because Sadro's on the outside, that's not going to quite work today.
It really jammed up that pack, though, but Evan was able to get on the gas pretty good and able to get a little bit of distance between him and Doherty. But, of course, in this form of racing, that's going to evaporate real quick. Looking at McGill and Bradshaw now on your screen.
Yeah, I think distance here is like the points on whose line is it anyway. They just don't matter. So coming through Lukey Heights, and here comes Perry once more, trying to overtake Doherty down to the inside. That was actually a pretty aggressive dive. Doesn't want to lose touch with Evan Merrill. In fact, they're going to be side by side through the final corner, it looks like. Nope, they are not, because Doherty is going to take his move into the pits.
And so we're going to have to keep an eye on Doherty, see how much this ends up helping or hurting him.
Stevie Ray is the only one from this group, the only other one from this group who has pitted. There's the 294. There's the number 11. Stevie Ray currently in Lukey Heights. Doherty just hit his pit stall. You're right on board with the Texan. So coming through the penultimate corner. Doherty takes off now. Now, though he's moving, there's going to be a lot of momentum in favor of Stevie Ray. So how is this all going to work out? And just going by was Francois Dornveld, but Stevie Ray is well behind, actually. Doherty gapped him by a huge margin. So if you're going to pit, it's like you said, Adam, you got to have a friend with you.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be apparent. That's why your teammates, I bet, are already starting to talk and maybe even trying to get a third car involved in that to see who else might come down. Richard Yolland, I think, got a little bit loose right there, though, and he's going to lose touch with the pack.
He's been barely clinging to the end of them.
And that's not going to help.
Almost wonder if it'd be good for him to... Oh, and everybody is in.
Oh, but the teammates don't come down together.
Yeah, Donald Fitterer stays out.
He's going to be all by his lonesome out there.
Yolland also comes in. So what does this do for our highest bidder, Edward Doherty. There you see them coming down the pit lane, all looking for their stalls. Doherty's just coming around MG, so certainly seems like he's closer to these guys than Stevie Ray was to Doherty. Perry's out. So is Sadro. In fact, they are out a long ways ahead of Evan Merrill. They gapped him pretty decently. They're going to come out amongst Bureau and Marshall. I believe those two are a lap down. Sadro is your highest bidder. Doherty lost out big time. Merrill way ahead of him. Yolland the only one to come out behind the 294. Still waiting on Fitterer, Desai, McAreevy, Bureau, and O'Donnell to pit. Most everybody else has come in with 13 minutes left on the clock.
You know, I wouldn't have thought it before, but I think Evan Merrill's glad they kind of came out in some traffic. Otherwise, I think he might have lost touch with Perry by now, but he's able to kind of leapfrog his way back up there, I think.
Yeah, I think the number 25 is pretty safe at this point. Should be able to get enough of a slipstream. Meanwhile, Fitterer, as you can see on board, has come in. He hits the cones. And Fred Desai is going to follow him. Jerry McAreevy is as well. That leaves just Bureau and O'Donnell. There's our pack of drivers we expect to retake the lead. Sadro leads them around Swan Corner. Donald Fitterer is out now, though. Oh, Fitterer with a very, very fast stop. An incredibly short stop, actually. It's going to be caught as they come up to Doohan. Does he have enough of a draft to keep with them? Sadro's following Perry, and he gets back in the tow.
And again, I think the biggest beneficiary there was actually Evan Merrill, because it got him, you know, right before I think he would have lost contact with Sadro as far as drafting distance. Here comes another car to fill that gap and keep him in the pack.
So it was 7 cars before the stops. It is now down to 4 after that. You got to get everything right to win in this series. And for the first time in 4 races, we will have a winner that is not Sven Dimmel. So who's it going to be? Spider-Man's in contention. Sadro is looking like a possibility. Donald Fitterer. Could we have a Spec 2 winner overall, as well as winning Spec 2? And then Evan Merrill, first time racing in a long time here in the Weekend Warriors.
You know, and I have a feeling that it could very well come down to the last lap here today, Joe. Maybe even a run to the line with the way the draft's working. Don't go away.
A little bit of a look to the inside from Sadro. One thing we haven't talked about, the weather obviously is pretty grippy here with it being overcast, but because it's overcast, that also affects the sun, which is currently at about 4 p.m. here, virtual standard time. Now it's brightening up. I was going to say it was getting very, very dark for a bit.
Yeah,
it's also going to heat up now.
Of course, the sun's starting to go low in the sky, and that's kind of getting underneath some of these clouds, and that's why we're kind of being able to see a little bit of sun, but it's going to be at an angle where it's not really going to heat up the track that much. So got to remember, it's the simulation time is May 5th, as it is in real life. But in the southern hemisphere, we're getting closer to the middle of winter as opposed to summer. So that you're going to see the sunset a lot lower this time of year than what you would otherwise, especially with as low a latitude as what southern Australia is.
Now, weirdly enough, Richard Yolland had a spin. We don't need to go to it. It was quite a while ago. This was through Lukey Heights, and he simply spun off into the grass, didn't hit anything, and then took a tow, and I'm not sure why. So we'll hopefully get some information on that a little bit later. Here you can see our top 4 have not left each other, but second place certainly being contested between Sadro and Merrill. 10 laps to go.
That was one of those ones, just looking at him, is that I wonder if he just had to get off for some reason, something external to the sim, because he just kind of dove off and then immediately not only took the tow, but disconnected from the session. So he's done for the day, it looks like.
That's a shame. Also correcting myself, 10 minutes to go, not 10 laps to go. Less than 10 laps to go. With this being a timed race and drivers doing about 146, 147 out there. The gap from 4th down to 5th is a whole 6 seconds back to Edward Doherty. But behind them, we've got that other train that we were looking at earlier on. That's Desai, LeVay, and Shaw. Merrill, as he takes the lead, actually set the fastest lap of the race that time.
Yeah, that was a lightning click lap there. That lap, by the way, was, let's see, quite a bit faster than what he qualified. that was almost 0.8 of a second faster than what he qualified.
Oof. Just unreal. You can see the swapping around. It is. It's not the above layout doesn't look like a draft track, but in these cars, man, every time we come here,
those long sweeping corners, and then just especially that front straightaway, makes all the difference in the world.
Really keeps things tight. We've been watching this swapping back and forth between Desai and LeVay. We got a car off to the side of the track. That's William Marshall. He's just a lap down. I think he had a self-spin. Through Siberia now. Michael Shaw could be the fly in the ointment for these two. He's just kind of sitting waiting patiently behind him. There's really no point in him trying to get in front of them at this point. So maybe he's going to snipe them at the line, just testing out the draft, seeing if it's powerful enough to do what he wants to do. Or maybe he knows about that middle shot that Adam was talking about.
Yeah, and I noticed that this last time by, Jason Perry kind of stuck a little bit closer to the side of Evan Merrill. In fact, just got cut down in front of him. Almost to close off that middle. That forced Daniel Sadro to go to the outside and wasn't able to make up the same kind of ground he was before. And actually is enough to propel Jason Perry to the lead.
This type of racing isn't so much about raw speed as it is strategy. This is the Talladega-style racing of the road course world. Riding on board with Daniel Sadro now as we watch Merrill pop out next to Perry. He's going to have his wheels fully alongside him down into Honda. And he seals the deal maybe. Perry could have a go back at him into Siberia. We've seen this a number of times. He decides, no, I want to get back in line for now. So 6 minutes left on the clock. And it's down to these four that we've been watching. Apologies to much of the rest of the field. It's really hard to pull yourself away, especially with how fierce they were fighting in the first 3 or 4 laps when it was a very large group.
And I just went through the field, and there's really only other one significant back, and it's the one that we brought up a few times back there with Fred Desai, LeVay, McAreevy's back there now. How about McAreevy, by the way? Started almost shotgun on the field. He got here late. Started in 30th position and has now found his way up into 10th. And that is despite having a lap 1 issue. So he is just tearing it up out there, trying to make up ground after not being able to put down a qualifying time.
Yeah, and actually his times are comparable to the leaders. I think this was one that's gotten away from McAreevy. Could have done a lot more out there. He's going to try and get on by the car of Zach LeVay now. And then from once he passes Oh, and not once he passes. Now that he's passed Fred Desai, that was quick. The next car up is a whole 6 seconds to Ramon Regalado, which is not impossible for him to gain.
Just watching that lead pack once again, and Evan Merrill just had to slide. Is he sliding again? Ooh, keep that back in underneath you. That was a heart attack moment for him. Another sawing on the wheel moment.
That actually could be race deciding stuff, because if someone has a spin and other cars have to take avoidance, we could see the car in front break the draft and start to streak away. But no such luck for Jason Perry, who is our current leader.
I think they're at a point in the race and a point in the age of the tires where they have to be real careful how they get back on the throttle.
They're getting on the throttle now, coming out of the penultimate turn up through Swan. And this time across the line. There's going to be 2 to go here?
I believe so. I was just thinking that. Here comes Evan. He's going to try to go for the outside. Look at Sadro, though. Sadro's going to sneak through the middle again. We'll see if he's going to be able to get a run up to the lead.
It's actually going to be really tight, I think. So they might get an extra lap. They might not. Drivers will have to plan for this, because if you cut it short on fuel, we've seen in the past that drivers can wind up coasting to the line and losing out on a win, losing out on podiums and other honors. Right on board with Sadro, looking back at the train of 3 giving chase. Donald Fitterer starting to drop off slightly. Another look to the inside from Evan Merrill. Another thing that could throw a wrench in the gears is lap traffic. They've got some ahead of them. That's Matt Solblum. Plenty of opportunities to pull out of the way in these cars, though, I would imagine. And indeed, there's one right there. This will tell us this time by if it's 1 lap or 2 left to go. Evan Merrill is your leader. Daniel Sadro runs in second. Jason Perry, third. Donald Fitterer, 4th place. Any one of these 4 could win it, and any 3 of them could be our podium today. Again, laps are about 146, 147. If it's very close to that 46 or 47, then they will go an extra lap. The iRacing software does not throw the checkered flag out right at the line, and it is definitely going to be 2 laps to go.
I think that right now, I think is going to work out in Jason Perry's favor.
And they're starting to drop Fitterer. Is Fitterer short on fuel? Meanwhile,
He might be.
Merrill's getting aggressive. Are these drivers aware this is not necessarily the last lap?
Either that or Donald Fitterer just decided that he didn't like what was going on up there and wanted to separate himself. It's like maybe if all 3 of them take each other out.
I wouldn't need to drop back this much, though. Down into Honda corner. Again, we expect 1 more lap. We'll have to watch it very closely. I'd be shocked if iRacing ended it this lap.
Just see how dark it's getting, and we need to come down into the pits and tape some flashlights onto these. Red flag it. Let's go night racing.
Well, there's sort of headlights on Evan, but he's gone Lightning McQueen on it. All right, down to MG. 30 seconds left on the clock. Who has been watching? Who's aware of whether they've got 1 lap or if this is the last lap? Who's guessing what's going to happen? Everybody's kind of on the edge of their seats here as Sadro's following behind Merrill, and I think he's going to go for the move, looking to try and get by the line. But as they come up, white flag is out, so final lap this time. Jason Perry wants to take the middle, but there's just not enough space in between them.
Sadro once again keeping close to Evan, and that kind of shut off that middle lane. But Jason Perry right there is going to be able to kind of help squeeze him down just a touch.
We essentially have a guess at what our podium is going to be now, but the question is what order. They come up to Honda. Merrill leads, but Sadro thinks about trying to take
Jason Perry gets in him.
hit. And Perry lets him back into it, in essence giving up a shot at the lead, as both of them now lose the draft and Merrill stretches away, but good sportsmanship from the 97 allows Daniel Sadro back in the hunt. A bit of an understated finish, unfortunately, after what was some exciting stuff up at the front. We'll go back to the replay of that incident at the end, but this driver comes back showing that HJ Motorsports doesn't just have Sven Dimmel to represent. Through the penultimate turn, Evan Merrill in the number 25, and then through Swan Corner. He put it up towards the front, but then he took advantage of other people having problems, because then there was one. The win goes to Evan Merrill today. Daniel Sadro, is he going to beat Jason Perry to the line? It's going to be awful close. And it's going to be Sadro who takes second place. Stevie Ray looks like he's just going to edge his way through to sixth position ahead of Ramon Regalado. Oh, and Shaw is out of fuel. He's going to get to the line, but he's losing multiple positions. Behind him, got a nice little fight for 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. This is Rick Hansen, Bob Kern, Francois Van Dornvel, and Gary Wolboltz. I think Hansen's far enough ahead he doesn't have to worry, but the other three... Oh, is Kern's out of fuel now. Unfortunate for Bob. Wolboltz also doesn't have enough underneath him to take Francois Van Dornveld. And then the rest of the field looks like they don't have a battle going, so they're just going to streak across one by one. Let's take a look at the replay and what happened. Right on board with Spider-Man.
See, I'm not sure here if Jason broke late or if Sadro broke early.
Well,
maybe an attempt to try to get a run on Evan coming out of the corner, but
he broke at almost the exact same time that as Merrill did, though, from what we saw on that onboard.
I'll get a look at it here from above.
Well, and Perry actually broke before him, too. So maybe just didn't break enough.
Maybe, yeah. Either way, great sportsmanship there by Jason Perry, and, you know, you kind of anticlimactic as far as the race for the win, but still, guys in the podium today definitely earned it. They were up there all race long.
Well, it's going to take us to break so that we can gather up the unofficial results as well as some drivers for interviewing. On screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel, so stick around. Welcome back to Phillip Island, and we had a stunner up until the last lap, and then suddenly the top three who were so close together separated due to some contact. But Evan Merrill doesn't seem too sad about that. He returns with a victory, coming from fourth on the grid. He stuck with the top group, and he was the last one standing. Daniel Sadro took second place, but he nearly lost out on that because he got run into by the driver who finished behind him, Jason Perry. That contact is what split them from the leader. Then in fourth, it was Donald Fitter, our winner in the Spec 2. He finished about 3 seconds ahead of Edward Doherty. I wonder if that was a fuel issue. If it was, he certainly came home awful close to second in the Spec 2, Doherty taking fifth overall. Then Stevie Ray finishes P6 with Ramon Regalado finishing on the final spot of the podium for Spec 2, seventh overall. Jerry McAreevy didn't get a qualifying time in, climbed all the way to eighth. Fred Desai finished ninth, and Zach LeVay finished 10th.
Yeah, coming home in 11th here today, you'll find Michael Shaw, and then Ryan Sorrell in 12th. Tom Gradwell coming home in 13th. Adam Bradshaw had a good run going early, kind of came apart in the middle part of the race. 14th position, Jim McGill 15th. Dominique Barreau in 16th position here today. And Ferenc Arabian in 17th, Rick Hansen in 18th, and Francois Van Dornveld. And I will say, they do a demolition derby at the end of every race. I'm going to declare Francois the winner on that. He had every panel knocked off the car. He was still going. Gary Wolbach coming home in 20th.
21st goes to a slightly disappointed Bob Kern, who coasted across the line. Esanume finishing 22nd. Nico Schupp 23rd, and then Jeff Jacobson 24th. John O'Donnell in 25th. Matt Solbloom finishes P26 with William Marshall 27th, Richard Jolin 28th, Wayne Palmer 29th. DNFs for Sven Demmel in 30th, and Mark Gehan behind him in 31st. With that, he's labeled himself the cheat in our chat, but the cheat is definitely not grounded here because Evan Merrill has taken the victory. It looked intense up there. Evan, what was it like from the cockpit?
Hey guys, it was a thrill all the way through. Phillip Island and the SRF is always this way. It's just such a great track to race at, and we had a great group of people. You could trust them all the way anywhere, and yeah, I had an awesome time.
So knowing that it was probably going to be a draft race, what was your strategy going into this thing? Did you want to hang back? It looked more like you wanted to try and be out front because you were constantly swapping around.
Yeah, as long as you can avoid going off or something and losing the front pack, it's pretty much always going to come down to a last lap, and I trust everybody else around me. So just had a lot of fun all race going at it safely, and yeah, tried to set something up for the last lap and ended up getting it handed me on a platter, which I guess I'll take, but...
Now, your HJ Motorsports teammate who's been dominating so far, unfortunately had a disconnect. Did he come back to you and explain what exactly happened, or do you have any idea?
Yeah, that was super unfortunate because, yeah, he would have been right up there with us, and you can always trust him for a good race. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Just must have been something connection related. He disappeared, and then he was gone, so that's too bad. Catch him next time.
All right. Well, you're the one that stopped his winning streak, sort of. Hopefully, we'll see a bit more this season. Do you plan to return for the final 4 rounds?
Yeah, I definitely got some stuff going on the next few weeks, but I had a great time today. It's been a while. I used to race this car all the time, and I'm having so much fun now. I think I'll have to start coming back when I can.
We had fun watching you race. That was our winner, Evan Merrill, coming from 4th on the grid today. Next up is second place finisher Daniel Sadro. And really, I think the thing that is fresh on most people's minds is the incident at the very end. Daniel, have you had a chance to talk to Jason? And what's your perspective on the contact there on the final lap?
Oh yeah, no, we were talking in chat. It was the last lap. It was certainly innocent, and honestly, he was entirely gentlemanly about it, letting me keep second, and then obviously he was going to race me to the line, but no problems whatsoever. It was just good hard racing on the last lap.
Glad to see that you two worked it out. Still a bit disappointing that it was coming down to a last lap fight to the line, and then it slipped through your fingers. If you had been up there, what was your plan with Evan?
I'll be honest, I really didn't have one. I was hoping to maybe pass him into that right-hander where the incident happened, and then maybe see if I could hold him off till the end. But worst case scenario, I would have been in second and maybe get some slipstream and pass him right going to the line. But it was going to depend on where I was heading into that last corner.
We're going to switch gears in a week's time when we go to Zandvoort, which is a much more technical track than this one. Do you think you can still hang with the hot shoes over there where the draft isn't as important?
Oh, I don't know. I think I was something like 0.8 of a second off of Sven's qualifying pace, and I was only able to remain in the lead pack because of the slipstream, the draft, and of course entirely unfortunate that he disconnected too. I don't think I will be as close to the front, but who knows? Maybe I'll surprise myself.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. Congratulations on another podium, Dan.
Hey, thanks. Have a good one.
That was Dan Sadro, who finishes second today. Up next is third place on the podium, Jason Perry, Spider-Man. Dan was telling us how you and he had a little chat afterwards and all was good and handshakes were had all around. So with that out of the way, tell us a little bit about the battling up front. It certainly seemed like you liked splitting the middle because we were discussing the draft being powerful, having that middle slot down the front stretch. Were you aware of that, or was it just coincidence that you kept picking that?
No, I mean, we all know that the draft along that main straight is huge in these cars. I think the main thing about today's race was none of the guys up front really wanted a tactical race. We just wanted to have fun, and that's why there was so much action going on.
Well, the fans certainly appreciate that. It gave us lots to talk about. Unfortunately, for the rest of the field, it meant we didn't get to show a lot of them, and you guys certainly had the cameras for a fair while. This season has been a little bit of a mixed bag for you, but you've been racking up points. Since Sven had trouble, what's your plan championship-wise? Are you kind of eyeing that top spot? Or are you doing, like you said in the race, just having fun?
I think after last week, I'm just going to concentrate on having fun. I was pretty grumpy last week about getting taken out, and I could have carried on racing, but I just decided I had a bit of a rage quit there. Almost didn't come back this week and thought, no, just go and have fun. I know all the guys I'm driving with. It's fun to hang out with them. So I think I'm probably missing the last 2 weeks as well. So I think I'm too far back in the championship anyway. So I'm just there to have fun.
Well, it's always good to see drivers that just want to be here for entertainment, not necessarily taking it too seriously. Is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Thanks as always to Steve for organizing everything, and our sponsors, whose name I've forgotten, but I'm sure you will fill that in for us, for sponsoring us, and for you guys for doing a great job on the broadcast. I know I don't always watch you, but when I do, I really enjoy it. So yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks for putting up with us ribbing you for not watching sometimes. But yes, that's Hallett Race Shop is what Jason was talking about. Our third place finisher here today. Last one we're going to talk to is fourth place. It just so happens to be also our winner in the Spec 2 today. The question that I want to get the answer to, Donald, is when you dropped off with just a couple laps to go, was that fuel or did you just lose the draft? Donald, you got a copy?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Now we got you.
Yeah. I ran out of fuel just before the finish line.
Oh, that makes those 3 seconds between you and Edward even more scary. I mean, how confident were you that you could stay ahead of him for that Spec 2 win?
Well, I was losing confidence as the laps were going by, but then I noticed that he was 8 seconds back, and I started really fuel saving on the corners, and then that one lap that I backed off made all the difference.
Well, that's impressive that you managed to bring it home the way you did. We were talking a little bit earlier to Daniel about how we're going over to Zandvoort. You've certainly been overachieving here in Spec 2. Is that one going to be harder to be finishing with these top fives as a Spec 2 driver? Do you think you'll be outgunned there?
Well, I'm actually going to work in California tomorrow, and I won't be back for 2 weeks, but I'm actually quite good at Zandvoort. So I would have loved to have been there and raced.
Well, that's a shame. We'll miss having you around. You always give us a lot of action, but definitely come on back and keep fighting for this Spec 2 championship. We look forward to having you back in, I guess, 2 weeks' time then.
Yes, sir. And I've got a new D-Box system. I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying it during these races.
That's fantastic. I'm actually kind of jealous that I wish I had one as well. But that was Donald Fitterer, who finished 4th overall, first in the Spec 2 race. So we also want to give a thank you to our sponsor before we go. Again, that is Hallett Race Shop, that can be found at hallettracing.net. As you can tell by the logo, they are next to the Hallett Race Track, which I highly recommend anybody over in Oklahoma go give a look at, because it certainly looks like a lot of fun. A big thank you goes out to iRacing for putting us on IESN. When you get the opportunity, go to their YouTube page and click the big red button that says subscribe. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_RAM. The next race, as we mentioned, we're heading over to the Netherlands. It'll be at Zandvoort. That'll be May 12th at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. We have other races listed on the screen that are coming up soon. Make sure and check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.